Welcome, 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 everyone. This is Tracy Wagner with Versatile Inspirations, and today we are working through this emotional time, and we're going to be discussing how we can actually witness our emotions, and it can be real tough, and how we can actually use a reel to work with our emotions, so that it kind of takes us into a third party so that we can work through them a little bit easier. So let me screen share and we'll get started. Wonderful. And like I said, today we're going to be talking about how we can witness our emotions. Sometimes it can be real tough, and how we can actually use a reel to help us in deciphering what it is that we're feeling, how to work through them, and to give us some empathy for what we're going through. So first of all, what are emotions? They're kind of tricky little buggers sometimes, but they're a natural, instinctive state of mind deriving from one's circumstances, mood, or relationships with others. Now, this can actually prove to be whether it's something that we've actually done in this lifetime, or a past lifetime, or a future lifetime, or on a multidimensional level. So something that we've taken on, or we've experienced, or we've had a circumstance around this, or we've witnessed other people having these circumstances or patterns or emotions, then it can happen not even just here in this lifetime, but in other lifetimes as well. That's why they can be a little tricky. They are instinctive or intuitive feeling, as distinguished from reasoning or knowledge. So they may just come out of nowhere. And sometimes, especially in the case of past lives or future lives or multidimensional levels, this can happen and we might get triggered on something and not even know why or where it came from. It could be anything. You could be driving down the road and something just hits you. And it could be something that you've witnessed and you just may not have connected the two, but you may become very emotional, whether that's a happy or a sad or upset or one of the multitude of emotions. This could get triggered. And there again, if it's not something that you remember, it becomes tricky to pinpoint exactly what it is that you're going through or you're experiencing. Witnessing your emotions, such as loss and grief. There again, when we experience emotions, they kind of get put in our subconscious mind. It's like a tool that our body uses to keep us from hurt, from fear, from just experiencing discomfort. And so our subconscious mind acts as kind of our own little system that helps us to not feel those negative ways, because sometimes, like in the case of loss or grief, it's just not a fun experience. It hurts, and it hurts on a level sometimes we can't even describe. It just does. And it's not something that you get over quickly a lot of times. It's a step-by-step process. And if we don't process our emotional grief, our loss, what happens is that subconscious or our mind just keeps piling on and piling on and piling on as we go through other griefs or losses. Then it just piles on and piles on, and it depletes us from our energy. It's not beneficial. It's not helpful. And so when we work with loss and grief, a lot of times we'll need to really be gentle with ourselves and understand that it's not going to be gone or be cleared up quickly. it's going to be a multi-stage thing. You're going to have to go through certain stages, and you're going to have to get support, and you're going to have to really be gentle with yourself and offer yourself some loving kindness, especially during that time. And if you feel overly emotional or overly stressed, then please reach out to a healthcare provider, a friend, a family member, a coworker, or even the suicide prevention hotline is there for your help. So please reach out to anyone, everyone, if you're feeling overwhelmed or very at a state where you just don't know what else to do. There are people out there that will help you, that will find the system that is best for you to cope with these things. Especially, like I said, with loss and grief, what you may be experiencing with an overwhelm is just all of the past losses and grief situations that you've had to go through, and they're piled up if you haven't gone through them, the processes for working with them. No, I'm not saying at all that they're ever going to go away, but there are applications that we can use to actually help us to heal a little bit, and maybe we can help others heal as well. So please reach out. Blocks. These blocks occur when we are emotional. If these things in our subconscious mind create blocks or dams, and we're not sure exactly how to maneuver, how we can go about working through them. So when we work on our blocks, then that actually helps us to heal and mend and open and knock down those barriers, or at least make holes in these barriers so that we can let that light in and we can fill up a little more, so we don't feel so depleted, so we can feel like we have our energy. Criticism is hard, and that can be your own criticism to yourself or criticism coming from other people. It's a hard emotion to deal with, because just like loss and grief, if there's loss and grief upon loss and grief, or criticism upon criticism upon criticism, and we don't take that as constructive, we take that as more judgment, then that harms us in the way that, if we don't process it, that it creates a block, and we're not able to maybe live out our full life, that we want to accomplish things and do things, and we have goals, and maybe those criticisms keep us from that. So that emotion is a very hard one as well. Disappointment. This as well is something that actually harms us in a similar way, that if we've had a disappointment, whether that is self-perceived or perceived from someone else, then that actually creates blocks as well. Or a way for, if you want to experience something, or if you want to have a goal or a dream, it may keep you from experiencing those things because you haven't processed that disappointment. And when you start moving in a positive direction, the subconscious or just little things can trigger you into feeling like you're not worthy or you're not good enough. And that creates a feeling of disappointment because you're not there yet. Illness. If you've struggled with illness, it doesn't matter if it's just a cold, a sore throat, or something as simple as that, or more cancers, or other things that have a real trauma associated with them. If we don't work through those, that emotional state that you were in during those illnesses can actually keep you blocked from accepting your health, because you're just worried maybe that just around the corner there may be something else that just creeps up on you, or just something. And so processing that emotion of illness and getting through it and accepting your health is sometimes hard to do as well. limitations. That's a hard one too, because you can't really pinpoint exactly where they came from. But if you have limitations, that's just us, and it gives us something to work through and work around, and it's a learning thing. But we can associate an emotion with it. We can be angry at ourselves, we can be disappointed with ourselves, we can criticize ourselves totally for not being able to have the limitlessness to be able to do everything and anything that we want, when that's not the case. The case is maybe we're supposed to learn a different way to do something. So it's not really a case of limitations. It's a case of us being able to figure out a new way of doing things. But that same feeling or emotion of limitations is an emotion that is hard to get through as well. Scarcity. Now, you may not think of scarcity as an emotion, but if you think of scarcity, it triggers some emotions. You can be sad, you can be angry, you can be frustrated, you can see the world around you. And if you witness scarcity or you see scarcity, it can make you multitudes of different emotions, especially angry. If you see people in poverty or are seeing them in that scarcity mindset, it's very emotional. And so that is a hard one as well, especially if you're an empath. If you're empathetic for other people, it is very hard to actually get past that and actually see the limitless of their existence or your existence, because you've kind of brought on other people's feelings on that subject. So working through these, whether we're just witnessing these emotions, witnessing how they came to us, or witnessing other people's emotions, be gentle with yourself. Be aware of your sensitivities, because you're going to have sensitivities to certain things. Certain things are going to trigger you. And when you know that, it's easier for you to be gentle, for you to step back a little bit and go, whoa, wait a second. I'm getting really emotional right now, and I need to see where this comes from. So don't take on too much. If you start feeling like you're overwhelmed, like I said, please reach out to someone, whether that's a coworker, friend, family, a healthcare provider, or the suicide prevention hotline. I'm leaving the numbers up so that you see those and know that there is help there for you at any stage. But just be gentle with yourself, especially if you feel like you've taken on too much. Please, if you don't do this already, please put together a self-care and self-love program for yourself. This is going to be very helpful in being able to deal with emotions, especially if you're experiencing something that you're having to work through. Self-care, self-love routines will actually help to give you just those reassurances. It's going to help you fill up your batteries a little bit so that you can take on a little bit more, or so that you can work through a little more. So just make sure you have those. As anything, I mean, just as simple as walking out in nature, it's very grounding and healing. That helps just by being out away from maybe problems or the source of emotional situations. Taking a bath, going out and doing something like getting a massage or your nails done. It's just something simple. If you want, journaling even will help you to unravel those spirals that we seem to go down, and be able to help you really focus in and give yourself some of that self-care. Get help when needed. We've been talking about that. Get help from friends, family, coworkers, medical professionals, or suicide prevention hotline. You can even go to a psychiatrist or a psychologist if you find that you're really struggling with something. They have the ability to work with you on a one-on-one basis to help you figure this out. Don't get stuck. Like I said, sometimes when we're flowing down this river of emotions, sometimes we kind of go out a little bit too deep or too fast down a river, or down just getting off too quickly. And when you try and get out, a lot of times you just get stuck in this mire, this muddy yuck that just keeps you just spiraling down and down and down. So don't get stuck. Like I said, if you take that self-care, self-love route, that will actually help to kind of cut that tie and get you moving in a different direction, so you don't stay stuck. You don't stay in that spiral or that mud and yuck. You get out and you cut that cord, and you're able to just kind of release it, even for a day or two. It's going to help. Forgiveness for yourself, forgiveness for others. Sometimes, especially empathic people, sensitives, it's very easy to forgive other people, but forgiving ourselves for things is a little bit tougher, but it is key. And I will tell you, if you call on Kuan Yin, she is an ascended master, and she works beautifully with that idea of forgiveness. And so calling on Kuan Yin will actually help you to forgive yourself and forgive others. Try not to judge. It's really hard sometimes, because we try and figure out what has caused this. What's caused this reaction, this emotional reaction? And then if it's a person, we judge that person for making us feel that emotion. Or if it's a thing, we may judge that thing and get very angry with it, almost needlessly. Because we've been triggered by something doesn't mean that that thing or that person requires judgment. What it requires is forgiveness, and for releasing and letting go. And there again, it can be hard. I totally understand that. I'm well aware of the need for closure, and sometimes if we judge someone else, it keeps us from taking responsibility. Or if we are judging ourselves too harshly, then that criticism actually is a block in and of itself. And so we really need to really focus in on forgiving, releasing, and letting go. So witnessing our emotions, we can witness them through meditation. By just sitting and meditating on our emotions, you will witness them. You will see maybe where they came from, how they got so big or out of control. And then you can actually maybe even witness how to work with them. Self-hypnosis. This actually is a beautiful way to witness your emotions, because you can witness them during self-hypnosis with the right brain and left brain kind of co-working. So they kind of work together for your highest and best good, to help you witness your emotions and then work through them. And it's almost like you're witnessing them as a third party. And it's really a wonderful thing. And we'll talk about that, how you can do that a little bit later. Energy work is a great way to witness your emotions. You may not actually get like where they came from, but though you may, but you're going to be able to help them forgive, release, and let go. The energy work is amazing, because if you think about it, emotions are energy. It is energy. You can push it out as well as bringing it in. So when we work on an energetic level to witness your emotions, you can release them and let them go on an easier basis. Journaling is a great way to witness your emotions. It's almost like channeling, because what you're doing is you're putting yourself in a self-hypnosis state when you're sitting there writing. And when you do that, you're able to channel information from your higher self or from your spirit self. And you're able to get information easier and more effortless. So this is a great way to witness your emotions, by writing it down. So Reel through them. Like I was saying before, and I had to play on words because they are real tough sometimes, but we can reel through them. And this is a self-hypnosis strategy that I've put people through and worked with them on through sessions, through hypnosis sessions. I've done it for myself. It's very interesting and it works really well. But just like this river, sometimes working with our emotions, it can feel like we're going along just fine. We're experiencing, we're witnessing them, we're seeing what's going on around us, but sometimes they either go too fast or we get stuck in mud and we keep going down this horrible cycle of the spiraling staircase down into this pit, it feels like. And if you think about it, we have this little child, our little self inside of us, and any kind of fears or traumas or patterns, any emotions that are very frightening or maddening, or any of these more on the lower energy spectrum, they actually feel like the boogeyman. They feel like they're coming up and just enveloping you. And it's very scary. So I like to think of working through these as a disinterested third party. Think of it as if you're going to the movies and you're going to watch a movie about this emotion, about this circumstance or this person or this thing that wronged you in some way or made you angry or hurt you. And think about it as if you're going to watch it in a movie theater. You're sitting there in the movie theater and you're going to watch it on the screen. You can even just see it as almost a virtual reality, as if it's happening right around you. And in this case, things are crystal clear. Things are technicolor. They are so clear that you can see maybe even the person or the thing that wronged you or hurt you. You can see it clear as day. But don't put yourself in that situation. See someone else or something else experiencing it. And when you do that, you're actually performing a self-hypnosis situation where you're witnessing it, but you're a disinterested third party. You're just witnessing it going on. You don't have any of the emotions that are going on in front of you or what you're witnessing, although you can kind of feel them because you would if you saw a movie. If you're watching a sad movie, you might get sad. If you're watching a horror movie, you might be frightened. Or if you're watching a movie where you could get angry, you could still feel those. But what would you say to those people? What would you say to the person that's experiencing these emotions? Would you show empathy towards them? Would you feel like you want to help that person? When you experience this, what you're really doing is you're experiencing it for yourself as well. It's easier to forgive and to release and to let go when you don't add on and add on and add on even more emotions to that already heightened emotion that you're experiencing. So when you view it as if you're standing back and you see the person, you're more than likely going to offer them compassion and love and understanding. And when you do that, you're kind of mirroring it yourself. You're putting all those out into that scenario which you've experienced. And so you're encompassing that experience or that person or that thing with those emotions, with those higher vibrations, with love, with compassion, with understanding. And so when you do that, then you're also taking that on. And in that case, you're able to release and let go a lot easier. When we appreciate those things, when we appreciate the idea of them. Appreciate it in a sense where it's had you learn. It's had you learn for a reason. That reason could be so when you experience it later, that it doesn't trigger a heightened lower emotion. Maybe it just makes you aware and it triggers a little bit, but you're able to keep a calm, cool, and collected um, scenario about yourself, and you're able to work through it quickly and easily. In the case of past lives, when we appreciate those things, those patterns, those ideas, those situations, those traumas, when we appreciate them, they made you who you are today, but we can release them as well. And if we appreciate those things that have yet to come, knowing that when they happen to us at the time, maybe we can be more calm, cool, and collected in future instances as well. And it's easier for us at the time in our future lives to be able to accept them and move on a little bit easier. Just by saying, I'm grateful for this learning experience, you're able to thank that aspect of yourself or an aspect of your past life or of ancestors, of old patterns, of future things that have happened. Thank you. And then release it to the light. Let it be transmuted back into love and light. It's a beautiful way to just be able to breathe deeper, be able to cut those cords and those ties and bring your power back to yourself. And it will fill you up. You won't feel so depleted. You'll feel a little lighter and airier. All right. Thank you so much for spending some time with me today. I so appreciate it. And as always, I'm sending you and yours love, light, and eternal blessings. Take care.